What are the three most powerful cues, body language cues of leaders?
Okay, so this is the competence area of the spectrum, right? So when we talk about charisma, we talk about warmth, competence, charisma, and danger. Okay, so three body languages of leaders. The example that I give that I really like to teach from is the Nixon-Kennedy presidential debate.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of this historical debate? We were not around for
Yes.
this debate, so I'd be shocked if you'd seen it.
So we want to be in the high,
there you go.
the high charisma.
There you go. Yes,
We want to be
sweet
doing
spot.
those cues all the time.
That's right. We want to be in the star. So right now you're talking about competence. You just asked me about leaders. So leaders typically are high competence and they can go into warmth when they want to.
High competence and charisma.
Right.
Or they're high competence and high warmth.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
Right. So highly competent cues, if you know that you're warm and you need to dial up competence to hit the sweet spot, these are some cues that will help you.
Give it
and
to
my favorite is from the Nixon-Kennedy presidential debate. So have you heard about this debate before? It's kind of...
Remind me.
Okay.
Yes.
You're like, actually, yes, I watched it on the History Channel last night.
Was it? I mean, maybe you mentioned this before, but isn't one of them was angry or something? I can't remember what happened, but
So this is why I like this story, is because it created a puzzle. And I like puzzles. So here's what happened. During this part in U.S. history, Nixon and Kennedy were running for president, and about half the population watched the presidential debate on television, and about half the population listened to the debate on the radio. Everyone who watched the debate was sure that Kennedy won, and everyone who listened to the debate was sure that Nixon won.
Wow.
And it was the first time where there was a discrepancy between the winners, the perceived winners.
Because one sounded competent, the other one looked warm.
One sounded like a leader and one looked like a leader.
Ooh, you match them together, that's the sweet spot.
That's the star.
Okay.
That's the star, exactly.
So one sounded like a leader.
So Nixon sounded like a leader. He had really good vocal power, but he looked like a loser. And I hate to use that word, but he himself said in his memoirs, he believes he lost that entire presidential election based on the first few seconds of that debate. First few seconds. He himself said that.
What happened?
Okay.
So he was kind of like the Shark Tank guy trying to buy back competence and warmth at the same time.
He gave away his competence in the first few seconds of the debate. So anyone who saw it went, oh, no. This guy is not a winner. And this was before they even spoke. So in the first 30 seconds of the debate, neither of them speak. You see them on camera. And if you were watching, you saw, wow, Nixon looks so weak. And here's why. What most people don't know is that Nixon had just injured his knee on the campaign trail, and he had been in the hospital for the week. So he came in with a bandaged knee and a fever. Kennedy had been tanning.
Yeah, he was
like
a nice suit and everything.
He was ready to go. And also, a kind of funny thing is the debate was in black and white, and Nixon's suit was too brown. It blended into the background. So I talk about color psychology at the very end of the book, colors, and so that was an issue one that he didn't pop as much on the black and white. Okay, So he shows up, and he's sitting in what's called the runner's stance. The runner's stance is when someone, so runners, before they win a race, they go into the crunch position, one leg back. We know this as a readiness position. Universally across cultures, if someone's about to run away from us, they will get into this position, right? Like they're literally about to run away. It's why sprinters start a race like that. Well, Nixon spent the first 30 seconds of the debate in that position.
Because of his knee.
Because of his knee.
He was in pain. He was trying to
He was nursing it.
Yeah.
But it made it look like he was about to run out on us. That's, from just a quick nonverbal perspective, the first impression was, where's he going? Even though people didn't consciously realize it, he looked not planted. And we don't like leaders who aren't going to stay with us. Whereas Kennedy, on the other hand, he had a really nice, relaxed cross, and he used what's called humility hands. Research calls it humility hands. Humility hands are when your hands are on your leg and they're resting. Humility, humble. So he looked relaxed, calm, here to stay, not tense at all.
I'm not in a rush.
I'm here. I'm your leader. Right? Yeah. So he looked, quote unquote, presidential. So first, the runner stance. Second is, and this is in the first 10 seconds of the debate.
They were sitting.
They were sitting next to each other.
They weren't on a podium.
No. So here's your first snapshot of the debate. And you see Kennedy, humility hands, relaxed, sitting tall. And then you see Nixon, who's like gripping the chair arm, ready to leave. And we see these cues, and people already made their decision. But people who were listening didn't see any of that.
Right, they heard the voice.
Interesting. And so Nixon lost the debate to Kennedy. He lost the election to Kennedy. And he said in his memoirs, that's why, is because of the cues I sent. And so for leaders, here's what we want to think about. One is relaxed, here to stay. So the more you can settle into your place, the distance, this is such a weird measurement. I want to see the biggest distance between your earlobe and your shoulder.
So not like this.
Yes. Because why? When we are confident, when we are winners, we take up as much space as possible, right? We broaden our shoulders, we tilt our head towards the sky. Winners feel pride. So we look at the distance between someone's ear and shoulder, and we're like, oh, she looks confident. When someone hops on a video call, this is the mistake I see. Hi, everyone. Shoulders pinched up towards ears.
Wow.
And we wonder why people aren't taking us seriously. We wonder why people are interrupting us. Is because this distance, if I'm like this, hey everyone, happy Monday.
Well, with your tonality as well, but yeah.
Right? Like if I start a video call like this. So today we're going to talk about some updates and I'm going to go over some different slides with you. And we're going to wait a few minutes while people log on. Oh my. Right? Like,
So
horrible.
If I'm on your team, is everyone just like, hey,
yes.
no one gets it? Are you just calling each other out on your social
Everyone's
cues?
a winner on my team. They're amazing,
yeah.
right? Like we play music, right? Of course you can lean in sometimes, but in that first impression especially, right? It's like, hey, good morning everyone, good to see you. So I want you to think about profile pictures, videos. I love chairs with armrests. Why? It helps our shoulders stay grounded. So that's the biggest one, is taking up space. The second thing that happens, that also gives you more vocal power. So if I were to do this entire interview with my shoulders up, it would look bizarre, right? I would look scared.
You would be more closed up.
Yeah, it would be. And so if I tense my vocal cords right now, I'll begin to go into vocal fry. So vocal fry, have you heard this before?
Yes.
It's when your voice sounds like sizzling bacon. I just don't know. I'm not sure. But like I was just thinking about it. And if it's, oh my goodness, it's horrible. And the reason why we'll accidentally go into fry is because we're literally clenching our vocal cords and they cannot get enough breath. Vocal fry, not to be gross, but vocal fry happens when our vocal cords rattle together. And that's what we're hearing, is the rattling. That's why we don't like it. And so when you have space, you prevent vocal fry.
Okay.
If you hear yourself in vocal fry, here's the quickest fix you have. Speak louder.
Right.
So the best way to get rid of vocal fry is to just up your volume. It will push more air through your vocal cords and it makes them hum.
Yeah.
If other people on your team are using vocal fry, just ask them to speak up.
And speak a little louder.
Yeah, that will usually get them out of vocal fry.
Oh, okay.
Little secret. Don't blame it on me, but that's a really easy way to, if you're interviewing someone, and they're in vocal fry and you know it's going to drive your listeners crazy, just be like, the audio, they just can't hear you. Could you speak a little bit louder? It will work.
Now, what's the difference between the humble hands on a knees or on a table, I guess, right here? Does this work on a table as well?
Yes.
Versus hand over top of the other hand,
Yes.
which is relaxed but also is closed body.
Yes.
Versus two
Open.
hands side by side, relaxed, not like intense, but relaxed side by side. What's the difference between these two?
Perfect question. So your book cover. Your book cover is hand over hand.
Yeah.
And they're relaxed.
Yeah.
And it's a closed posture, but it works. Right? And so it's okay to me. As long as your hands are relaxed, I don't care if they're closed or open. Now, I do care about this. So when we protect our trunk, arms crossed, yes, I do care about this. And why is because when we are crossing like this, I know it's comfortable for some people. What research finds is two things. One is we look more closed off. So we never want to look closed off. But second, they found that when people are trying to be creative or strategic, they literally cannot generate as much ideas when they are like this.
What's the alternative?
Humility hands, open posture, holding a drink, typing at a computer, taking notes.
Anything else but
Anything else but that. Anything else. So I love props. So the way that I don't cross my arms, because I actually like to cross my arms.
Yeah. It's kind of relaxing, It's kind of like.
I know. But actually, if you're thinking or processing, cross away, right? If you need to take a minute, take a step back, it's a great way to break. So I hold a clicker for presentations and a pen, like for slides, because every time I think about crossing my arms, I remember, I have the clicker. When we think about getting rid of, I call them like bad nonverbal habits, right? So tics, so crossing arms, those are all bad nonverbal habits.
Slouching.
Yeah. It's really hard to just say, don't do that. So what I'd rather you do is replace it. Displacement tactics. Okay, so you cross your arms. Can you hold a coffee mug? Can you hold a pen? Can you hold a clicker? Can you always have a Moleskine notebook? I have a student of mine who always has a Moleskine. He doesn't need it.
He just holds it.
He has it. He opens it up and he'll write the date and the meeting name and what he had for breakfast, but that's it. He literally uses it because if he doesn't, he puts his hands in his pocket or crosses his arms. And so he has it in front of him because it helps him feel very grounded and centered.
It's a replacement tool.
It's a replacement tool.
Yeah.
So I would think about what are some tools you can use that will help you do that.
What about the the finger crossing.
So like, look at the difference. Like this, when I'm white knuckling, you can see that I am tense. I'm trying to keep it together, Vanessa, right? Like,
but this is
so this is called a steeple.
The fingertip touch.
Oh, I love a steeple. Yeah, so a steeple is when the tips of your fingers touch, and like a church steeple.
It's like Mr. Wonderful just does this the whole time.
Exactly. You will notice that when when Mr. Wonderful is contemplating a deal, he'll go like this. Why? Doesn't it make you feel like you're just in control? It's like, And so this is a really good power gesture. It's one of our competence cues. That's why I have it on the cover of the book, is to show high competence, because it's about getting in control. The steeple, we love it because it shows our palms, which shows we're not concealing anything.
Do you want the steeple pointed at someone?
Either
or
one. Any of those. Any and all. Whatever
if you
feels
have it
natural.
up here like the diamond.
I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't be like, hello, everyone. Good morning.
So here or pointed at them is fine?
Right, totally fine. You'll notice that like Mr. Wonderful does it perfectly. He'll like go like this. He'll tap it. The only thing I would be careful of is drumming fingers. That looks like Mr. Burns evil, right?
Schmiegel, yeah.
I don't love that one. Okay, so like don't look like you're scheming, right? Like that can look a little bit crazy. But if you're like, oh yes, I'm thinking about it. Now, I want to give a caveat. Please only use cues that you've tried on a few times and feel natural. There are some cues in the book, where there's 96 cues in the book, that I still don't like. I've tried them every which way and I do not like them.
What's the most powerful cue that you don't like, but you know is extremely effective in charisma or connection or trust or leadership?
Volume. So research shows that people who speak in louder volumes literally are taken more seriously. But that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And so even on stage, when I'm like really excited, I still don't want to be like, let me tell you about something very, oh God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I don't like it. But volume dynamism is a cue I teach in the book that I have trouble with.
But the research shows that people are more trustworthy or more competent.
Competent. It is a competent cue.
Because if you're soft, it's like you don't believe in your words.
It's actually volume dynamism. So it's being able to use your volume to match your intention. So for example,
so tonality and fluctuation at the right moments.
Yes. So like, for example, I feel a little ridiculous when I do this. This is a cue that I struggle with, which is like, let me tell you about something super important.
Yeah.
I just feel ridiculous. But some people do it so
but
well.
It works.
Oh, it works so well.
And people are so charismatic.
Yes.
When you can get the tonality, the inflectuation, is that what it is, of the tonality. They taught this to us in Toastmasters as one of the 10 initial lessons of being a competent communicator. One of the exercises is to give a 5-minute speech using tonality. It's you have to like find the cues of when you like pause and slow it, and then you bring it over. It's like, how do you make it authentic?
So some people do it naturally. They're so good at it.
Gifted.
That is not me. That's why I don't have a podcast. That's why I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right? Like on YouTube, I can use my gestures and my facial expressions. It's why I don't have a podcast. I feel I am not dynamic enough in my vocal power. And so that's one cue that I work on, but I have a hard time being in control of my volume.
Yeah. Okay, so we have these hand gestures. This is fine on the table also?
Yep, all good, relaxed and good.
What about hands open on the table?
Okay, so let's talk about
Open
palm
body.
up versus palm down.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was researching for the book, I was looking for my favorite are cues hiding in plain sight. Those are my favorite. I just used it.
Those are my favorite.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, you did. That was very organic. It's very natural.
I'm really happy right now.
It's like you're speaking to a girlfriend, just naturally flowing through.
Let me tell you a secret here.
here.
Yeah, okay, so that was great. That was very exciting. I feel very excited. Okay, so I love cues hiding in plain sight. And so I had a lot of political examples, a lot of celebrity examples, and Britney and Lance Armstrong. But I wanted historical examples. And so I was looking at famous paintings, and I noticed that The Last Supper, painted by Leonardo da Vinci, has hidden cues in it. You'll notice that the way that it's positioned, Christ is positioned in the middle. So Da Vinci positioned in the middle. Okay. Most people do not realize that in that picture, Christ is doing this. He has one palm up and one palm down. It's hard to see it in that.
Oh yeah, his
shot.
left palm is up, and the right palm is down on the table, right?
Now this is very interesting because like most people don't look at this right away, but why? Why is he doing that?
Why would he put his hand like that?
Why would he put his hand like that? And what do those mean? So let's look at the research. Palms open are universal gestures of openness. When we want something, what do? We hold open our hand.
Give it to me.
Yeah. When we're offering something, what do? We hold open our hand. When we are open to suggestion, we show our palm and we have it visible. A palm down gesture is a high competence cue. It shows dominance. It shows directiveness. You might think of, I won't mention them by name, some famous dictators of the past who did palm down gestures. Why? That is a very dominant gesture. When people are giving directives, they often say, be quiet, sit down, right? I don't want to hear from you right now. It's a very direct.
Dismissive too, in a sense, right? It's kind
especially
of
if you shake it at someone. So why would we have these two cues? They perfectly balance each other out. Christ is depicted as the highest, most charismatic person in the painting. And so what does he do? He literally balances warmth and competence. He's showing the universal gesture of openness and giving, while at the same time, a universal gesture of direct authority.
When was this painting made?
1498.
Wow.
Yeah. So Da Vinci, I think, hid cues that signaled the viewer, wow, he's charismatic. The takeaway from this, by the way, is if you're giving a directive and you don't want it to be questioned, you're better off giving palms down. You're better off saying, listen, team, we've got to get this done. We've got to be efficient. We got to be streamlined. I need you to do it for me.
Just go, yeah.
Just go, just do it. If you want feedback, like when I take Q&A, I'm like, what can I do? What questions can I answer? Right? I'm giving open. That's a very, very subtle but very powerful cue. Okay, so that's how Christ is depicted balancing. The other thing that he does is if you measure the amount of space that Christ takes up in the painting, you'll notice he takes up the most space. He literally has the most distance between his shoulder and his earlobe.
Yeah, he's like,
yes, because he's tilting. So tilting is a warmth gesture. And so he is the only pictured person who is head tilt with also expansive posture. So there's all these hidden cues that I think paint this picture behind what's happening. Now, if you look at Judas, now if you didn't know anything about this history, Judas would be the character painted with the most intrigue. If you notice, he's also holding a clenched fist. Right? He's the only character in the picture who has a clenched fist and is distancing. He's literally turning his body away from us. And we know, we already talked about, that distancing is a danger zone cue. So here is the person who is later about to betray Christ. And how does Da Vinci signal that? He hides cues. He shows a clenched fist, which shows withholding and anger. And then he shows that he's about to lie, that he literally turns his body away. The reason I show this is because I think that we don't realize there's these cues being sent to us all the time. I do a lot of breakdowns on my YouTube channel of politicians, and we don't realize, even when we look at political campaigns, in one picture, there's thousands of cues being sent to us, and we should know what's being sent to us.
the thumb pinch.
Oh, the thumb pinch.
This is Obama, right?
Okay.
He did this all the time, didn't he?
So here's what's funny is Obama used to be a pointer. We don't like being pointed at. So there's something about it as humans. It's like, let me tell you what to do. It's kind of a better than. So I think he was coached because all of a sudden he never pointed again and he only used the thumb pinch. The thumb pinch is a very clever gesture because in Western cultures, this means good job, thumbs up, good job, or like me. Like literally, social media, like, right? This is what we see. Like, give me a like. And so the thumb pinch is a very subtle thumbs up gesture. So every time he does it, it makes you think, oh, first of all, he never clenches.
It's relaxed.
It's relaxed.
It's kind of like an open thumb.
It's an open thumb because he's saying A-okay, like. And he's also saying, this is a point I want you to remember. It literally looks like a bullet point.
Right.
I'm going to give you a point that you should remember.
Yes.
And Obama, I'm going to do an Obama impression. It's going to embarrass us both. Okay?
It's okay.
I'm not very good at impressions,
It's okay.
but Obama does this thing that I find so interesting. So Obama uses a downward inflection. So we talked about the question inflection, right? So when we go up at the end of our sentences, Obama goes down at the end of his sentences. He literally slings down his words. And downward inflection we hear is very authoritative. So I'm going to do an Obama impression. Okay, so this is him slinging down his words. He goes, Sasha, Malia, it's very important that what we do today is going to be remembered forever. And if we don't do those things, we are going to be in deep trouble. That's a terrible Obama impression, but you can hear what I'm saying, right?
Of course.
He slings his words down, and that is very authoritative. So even that vocal cue makes us think, well, he knows what he's talking about.
Right. It's more authoritative, more confidence.
It's more authoritative. Versus if he were to say, Sasha, Malia, I have something really important to tell you. It's really important we do this for our future. Could you imagine if he gave speeches like that? And so even that vocal inflection worked for him because he also creates a lot of space in his mouth. He has a lot of space in the middle part of his mouth, so he talks very deeply in his mouth, and that helps keep his resonance really low because he has this space in the back of his mouth, and that creates a lot of resonance.
It's a good
Thank you.
That's a good impression. I like it. Yeah, that was good.
You're not embarrassed for me? Good.
No, it's great.
It's because he creates this low resonance point and we like it. So that downward inflection is really important.
So many great cues in here. The power of the pause for power.
So a mistake that I used to make is I would pause the end of my sentence before continuing on to my next sentence, and I would get interrupted. Right? So a mistake that people will make is they'll give a thought, pause, and then keep speaking. Now, pauses are quite powerful. Powerful people typically use pauses in their speech. But if you pause in between your sentences, people will interrupt you because they think you're done. You're actually better off using what I call a power pause. A power pause is when you pause right before you give something away.
So not the end of a sentence.
Right.
In the middle of a sentence, before you're going to share something.
Really important.
So let me tell you something really important.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the mistake that people make is they'll say, something really important happened in my childhood that I want to tell you about. Pause. It was when I was, okay? People are like, should I talk to you? Should I ask you another question? What should I say? It actually creates conversational confusion, which is the last thing you want. Versus, I want to share a really important story from my childhood. That creates a lot more intrigue because like a story, from your childhood. And I have no desire to interrupt. So that's a very advanced tip. That's towards the end of the book. It's a very advanced tip because if you have trouble with people interrupting you, I would practice switching your pauses and think about that. What's the drama you can give?
Drama.
Yeah.
Create the drama.
Volume, pauses. Yeah. And by the way, Obama did that very well. He would deliver a point, right? He would go into his residence and he would say, what this country needs is better systems. Right? I'm saying nothing, but you're like, what's better? What is it? What is the thing that we need?
It's not what you say, it's how you say
That's it. Although how you say it is important too. That's
you need the confidence
That's
too,
the last chapter. So the last chapter I have to end on is verbal. Because yes, we spend a lot of the book talking about nonverbal and vocal, but your words matter, as we talked about with achievement-oriented words.
Yes.
But man, if you can deliver achievement-oriented words with power pausing, with a steeple, look out, world. You're coming.
That's big.
When you start dating someone or any new relationship, even in business, always conditional trust. I'm not going to trust you all the way. I'm going to trust you part of the way. We love to trust unconditionally, which is probably why we tend to just want to give people trust. It's less work.